My wonderful, beautiful, amazing Pisces. I'm Gabriella from Gabriella's Vampire Tarot. For today, I'm going to be doing your general reading, your past, present, future, your 9-card spread. I'm going to be using the regular tarot deck, clarify with the vampire deck, draw a special vampire card, draw a vampire oracle, and then finish off with 3 yes or no answers for thee. So anyway, let's get started on your reading. Okay, the general card is the 5 of Pentacles reversed. Let's look at the first row, which is also your past. You start off with 5 of Swords reversed, 4 of Cups reversed. I mean, you can have Aquarius, Libra, Gemini placements, or some water placements with maybe some extra Cancer or Scorpio. And then you get the 4 of Swords. Okay. You know what I saw what you did is you pretty much, took, charge of your own, your own fate in the past, stuff like that, because something probably caused you to lose some kind of battle in the past. I mean, normally with the 5 of Swords upright, you'd see the person, holding, at least, a lot of swords and stuff like that, and this person just won this big battle, but since it came in reverse, it's like, okay, you're not holding any battles. But what I saw you already doing is, that didn't stop you from actually embarking on any kind of other voyage and quest for that matter, because with the 4 of Cups reversed, it's quite the opposite of having any kind of hesitancy, but this is an act of certainty of knowing exactly which way you were heading down towards. But then, of course, afterwards you were hit with, the need of rest and recovery as well. I saw that you mostly kind of escaped something, but of course, I want to always verify that with the vampire deck, of course, but I just see that, something didn't work out in your favor, but you managed to kind of escape the whole situation, and now you were pretty much just kind of in recovery mode in the past. Wow, okay. Because in current times, you get the 9 of Swords reversed, which is like overcoming nightmares. Though you do get the King of Pentacles reversed, which is kind of like having no kind of abundance, no kind of stability in other ways. But I love the fact that you got the 8 of Cups afterwards, in the sense where you just don't want to give up either. And that's kind of, mostly the name of the game of any kind of successful outcome on different levels, is as long as you just don't take off, just because, there's a couple of setbacks, there's a couple of, problems, that took place. I mean, I love the fact that, ever since, it's like you were in rest and recovery mode in the past, so here you were sleeping, and here you were actually suffering with no nightmares, throughout your slumbering, which is actually very interesting, because even though they were on 2 different, sides and stuff like that, it pretty much just showed the transition from in need of rest to, overcoming and recovering from some kind of nightmare situation. And then with the King of Pentacles, yes, you probably, woke up and you probably thought, okay, my financial problems or my financial, situation is still not up to, the grand, King of Pentacles upright, stuff like that. But I love the fact that you just don't give up. Because the general card is definitely overcoming some kind of poverty situation as well. So sometimes, it's like whatever worth having doesn't come easy, but sometimes you also have to just kind of, put in a lot of hard work, and then eventually you'll get the desired result of what you want, wish, dream, and desire, or something of equal or greater value. Though in the future you do get the Wheel of Fortune reversed, High Priestess upright, okay, and then you get the Tower, Aries energy, in which sign comes after after Pisces is Aries. So what I kind of see here is, it's like, yeah, you're not giving up, but yeah, it's like, okay, maybe, you're not getting the desired result that you hope to wish, to achieve in the future in other ways. But yeah, you get this very beautiful card of the High Priestess, of the upper book of knowledge, of everything that you've accumulated over your past, your experiences especially. That's pretty much, actually leading off towards this big change. Okay, well, I want to actually verify this, but I actually think, okay, sometimes, it's really good just to never give up, and sometimes it's really good to actually, just have, the High Priestess, your intuition, your senses to be guiding you towards this big change, because if you feel like that you're kind of struggling, with all your financial, means of actually seeing no kind of improvement or development, the High Priestess is more or less just kind of, guiding you towards this big change to see if that'll probably benefit you better. But that's why I want to look at the verification to verify all of that for you. So, For the Five of Swords reversed, you may have, you had to, lose some kind of battle of some kind, but it opened up more options and opportunities. So maybe you didn't get what you desired and craved in the past, but you did get, like of equal or greater opportunities being presented to you. And that's actually a luxury that not many people get, because, sometimes a lot of people, they struggle with, losing some kind of big battle and then, just not getting anything in return. But as long as you pretty much actually got something, well, maybe of equal or greater value, stuff like that, that pretty much is way better than just actually, getting nothing in return, right? So, for the Four of Cups of actually taking action and knowing which way you're heading off, here you were as the Hanged Man, Pisces energy, more or less is saying, okay, this time we're going to do it, differently and stuff like that, because here's where you were doing introspection and self-reflection and thinking, okay, how can I improve my means in other ways? And that's always good, when you're about to embark on any kind of goal, voyage, outcome in any way, it's always good to kind of, check, within to make sure it's actually going to be working this time. But of course, there's never ever going to be a guarantee of any kind of outcome in any way. So the thing is, but as long as you can just, more or less just say, okay, it's like we're being presented with these options in here, it's like, well, maybe, one of the options is not going to benefit you, but maybe they might. But it's all just about using your senses and intuition, especially what you truly want, need, and desire. Because here you are with the Four of Swords, and resting and recovering, because this is an offering of the Six of Pentacles that was being presented to you. And I love that, because the thing is it's like, with any kind of options and opportunities, and I love the fact that afterwards you do recover and overcome some kind of nightmare situation. So this was kind of probably some kind of offering that probably helped you out of this financial struggling, regarding the Five of Pentacles reversed, of overcoming some kind of, or healing, or recovering, any kind of financial problems and stuff like that. Wow. Because, it's like, if all systems go, if everything just works out for you, it's like, yeah, nothing ventured is nothing gained. And especially, since everything that you're actually learning is all being applied and pushed into this beautiful book of knowledge. Because for Nine of Swords reversed, you get the Two of Swords. Okay, so you are overcoming, some kind of nightmare situation, but again, you are being presented with two different options and opportunities again. I mean, not again, but, at least, more options and opportunities. Well, the thing is, it's like some people, they probably overcome, all of their, negativity, knowing that there's always an escape route. And that's kind of also what I'm kind of getting here, is if you're kind of struggling a bit, that there's always going to be, different types of paths, to even start manifesting and creating in your own way, instead of thinking, well, I guess this is just it for me. No. Because, you're overcoming and recovering from some nightmare situation. And again, you get this beautiful, luxurious card. Even though the Two of Swords is still kind of like an easy kind of card of thinking, well, which direction is actually going to be benefiting me, for the best. Well, you don't know that until after you pretty much, just choose something. And sad but true, it may not always end up how you'd want. But anyway, here you are pretty much, and you know what I think? Okay, so you get the King of Pentacles reverse, you're pretty much not on your beautiful, luxurious lifestyle. Maybe you did, suffer from some kind of financial crisis and stuff like that. But here you get the Prince of Skulls, also known as the Knight of Pentacles. And the Knight of Pentacles is that they're slow yet certain developments. And that's the thing, that's, kind of like the recovery kind of phase. And that's with any kind of recovery, after any kind of wound for that matter, or even, after, you've lost some kind of battle, any kind of slow yet certain development of healing and recovering is pretty much just going to be benefiting you for the best and stuff like that. And that's what I like to see, is that you pretty much, are in the healings kind of mode. This is kind of like a healings kind of reading for today. Because yes, this probably, will, came from the Five of Swords, reversed, kind of moment of whatever, contributed and stuff like that. But here's also a healings moment, because maybe, you actually chose wisely with the Two of Swords. You guys are very intuitive individuals. I mean, I would never ever doubt the intuition of a Pisces in any way. So here you are just kind of, not giving up. Maybe this is like the patience and waiting game because, you're juggling other responsibilities. And that's kind of what you mostly also have to do is don't just keep focusing on just one angle and stuff like that. If you have to take care of other affairs, you have to take care of other affairs. You can't just suddenly say, okay, let's just wait and see and say, well, what are we going to do about food or our meals or our slumbering times? No, we can't focus on that right now because we're waiting for the Knight of Pentacles to show up. No. Well, you have to just keep going back into the routine of the Two of Pentacles because, you're just not giving up because you're just thinking, okay, well, right now, we're in the patience mode. We need to kind of just wait and see and stuff like that. And here you are pretty much just going about your daily routine of whatever it may be in other ways. Because despite the Wheel of Fortune reverse, not getting luck or fortune on your side, I do see you with the Magician on wanting to manifest. Fabulous. And that's what I like to see is, that you pretty much just think, okay, it's like, well, why should you just only be waiting for, an alternative opportunity to show up? Sometimes actually, taking the reins in your own hands or placing your hands on the metaphorical, vehicle wheel or car wheel or whatever it is and just more or less is saying, okay, we're going to start taking charge in our own way. Because the thing is, it's like sometimes, it's, patience is good, if you know that something is slowly yet surely heading towards you. But however, who's to say that speed is actually going to be benefiting you? So sometimes it's actually good to actually, kind of work on a parallel scale, just also having patience for what's going to be heading towards you, but also start, on your own side, just also start creating and developing something as well. So then you can mostly work in a parallel scale up into this very, beautiful outcome in other ways. Because the High Priestess, you get the Daughter of Grails, also known as the Page of Cups. So here, the High Priestess is mostly, telling you to start manifesting the very beautiful daydream of whatever it is and stuff like that. Because if you want to overcome, as a general card of any kind of poverty situation, well, something is definitely working in your favor, but sometimes it's also good to take charge and to say, okay, we're not going to just be like sitting ducks and doing nothing. No, sometimes it's good to actually just get out into the big, wide, open ocean, whatever, and just kind of start, just thinking, okay, how are we going to start actually, adding, more, money or recovery from our side as well. I mean, my goodness. Sometimes I just can't talk, but at least, you're actually my final reading for this week. So, but I will still, make sure it turns out quite well or even better than well in other ways. But here I just actually see the High Priestess mostly just angling and pointing at this beautiful daydream because you are definitely manifesting something because you want to recover. You don't want to just be stuck in a financial problem. No, you want to actually start bringing forth this beautiful daydream. And then to finish off with the Tower of this big change, you get Six of Grails, nostalgia. So whatever is taking place right now, whatever you're actually going to be manifesting is going to result in this big change, but you're going to be looking back at it and say, wow, I'm so glad I proceeded and pursued this goal and whatever it was, this desired outcome. Because as long as I also, contributed from my side next to the Knight of Pentacles, then, we turned it into this very beautiful, happy outcome for us because in the end, you're going to look back at the past and not only, looking back at the High Priestess and to say, what did we learn and how could we actually, continue on this beautiful, learning phase and stuff like that because of this big change. Fabulous. Because your special vampire card says, Three of Wands. You're definitely going out on this passionate, fiery, determined, voyage of wherever it may take you, in other words. And I just think, go for it. Nothing ventured is nothing gained. The thing is, it's like you don't want to just be only, a fish in a tank, for example, because, you're not living. You want to be out in the big, wide, open ocean of whatever it is and stuff like that. Or even, running through a safari or running up and down the streets of wherever you may live. Having the freedom is pretty much going to also accentuate your mind in a sense where you can open up new opportunities, start manifesting something. And this is you actually proceeding with this big change. Nostalgia, the High Priestess has your back. And because you're manifesting of wanting to recover from any kind of financial problems in the past. Because Oracle wants to say pray, stalked, invaded, and watched. And that's kind of the deep and sad and honest truth is a lot of people are going to underestimate, Pisces on so many levels. But let them. You guys are very strong-minded, willed, and you guys are highly intelligent individuals. My goodness. So if people think, oh yeah, well, Pisces is just a very over-emotional water sign. Yeah, we could easily just bully him or her into anything. Give them that kind of illusion. But just, we'll be, but then we'll remind themselves to say, okay, you can see me as prey and you can stalk and invade and watch me all you want, but you're definitely manifesting this very beautiful outcome. You're heading off towards this big change, whatever it may be, and you're going out on this voyage. Now, if you pretty much just feel like you're a potential prey, in other words, where you feel like, oh goodness, it's like I've already lost that battle with the Five of Swords reversed. Okay, the thing is it's best just to kind of listen to the High Priestess's advice to say what have you learned in the past and how can you actually learn from any past mistakes. And please, always please forgive yourself for any kind of past mistakes that you've even made, because that's how you pretty much learn, So, yeah, so then you don't become prey to any person's predator and stuff like that. I know my time is pretty much over regarding any kind of advice, regarding predator to prey. But anyway, if you ever want to avoid being prey, is always, we'll be mindful of your whereabouts. Always, we'll double check everything. Always, just kind of have the, assertiveness and confidence and strength within yourself. If people are going to be, throwing all of these different offers at you and they're going to try to intimidate you because they pretty much just think, oh yeah, Pisces is a very easy target and stuff like that. You try to actually, just, say, okay, is that, no always means no, and always just say, you know what, I'm just going to have to think about it. Let me just, have some time and stuff like that. If people are really honest and respectful, they'll understand it and stuff like that. But the way how a predator is where you're either in recovery mode or your mind is pretty much elsewhere, and that's where they're pretty much, they try to go out for the, head off towards their prey in other ways. Okay. Well, I'm going to finish off with 3 yes or no answers. Please feel free to pause this video and think about the questions you want answered. Because for number 1, you do get a no with the 3 of Pentacles reversed. You get a yes for number 2 with the Page of Pentacles upright. And then you get a yes with the Knight of Cups for answer number 3. So you get, actually, 1 no and 2 yeses for today's reading. Well, my beautiful, amazing Pisces, I'm going to have to leave it at this for now. But if this reading resonated for you, please feel free to join and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. I love you guys incredibly. In a few days, I'm going back to love reading. So for now, I'm just doing general and love. I'm also open for personal readings. All you have to do is subscribe to this channel and post in the little discussion box that you want a personal reading from me, and I'll respond to you with my email, because I have this web link on my YouTube page called Project Page, and it has the different types of prices on it. So please feel free to browse at your own time and stuff like that. But anyway, thank you again. I love you guys incredibly, and best of luck on this very beautiful voyage.